Well, I'll try it again from standing here in front of the window where I got maybe a little access. But whatever, whatever reason, I lost signal today. But Jesus is talking about, sin and how many times we should forgive. And he uses this example of, as I started, this king who has a person who owes him 10,000 talents, an enormous amount of money, an amount of money that, we wonder, how can somebody get that much debt, but it isn't the debt part that's so interesting, but Jesus is saying this is compared to our sin. And when we think about, how many sins we possibly do every day, and we add all of those up, it's a huge amount that, we end up needing forgiveness for. And so this person goes to the king and pleads for forgiveness. And the king is going to lock him up, until he can pay. He's going to sell his sons and his daughters and his family, sell them all into slavery, which was acceptable. If you couldn't pay your debt, you would be sold and put in prison. That way, the man pleads and begs, and the king forgives that whole debt, the whole debt. And the man, with such relief, goes out, and he finds this other person who owes him just this little bit of money. And he has him thrown into jail, because he can't pay. And others come back and tell this king about that. And the king is irate. Of course, he should be irate, but it's God telling you and me that if we expect God to forgive us for all that we do, then we better be ready and willing to forgive others as well. And again, another thing I've used a lot is Lord's Prayer. Forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. It's that reminder that, why should we ask to be forgiven if we aren't willing to forgive ourselves? It's hard. But, and then the worst part comes when the king finds out about this man's unwillingness to forgive his other, he's going to throw him in prison until he can be tortured, until he can pay the debt. And, and again, this, they would torture him, because, well, maybe he's got some money hiding someplace, he's got a secret bank account, he's got a hole in the ground with a whole bunch of money in it, so you torture them so that they can't hide anything that they might have. Because, who likes to be tortured? Pain isn't fun at all. And so the king, is going to put him in prison and say he will be tortured that way. And it's just one more of those reminders for us that there is a difference between heaven and hell. There is a difference between an eternity in God's presence and an eternity that's separated from God. And so this simple question that Peter asks, how many times should I forgive, turns into don't bother counting, don't keep track, forgive, be gracious as your Father is gracious to you. And as I said, it's a difficult task, this forgiveness. It's a difficult task, often, forgiveness. But God reminds us that, Jesus came into this world for you and for me. And the forgiveness of sins that we get, it isn't just the forgiveness of sins, but it's that promise of eternal life. The promise that we won't be eternally tortured for all of the wrongs that we do in our lives, that we are indeed forgiven children of God.